Hardin County, it is Michelle Labus. It is March 26th of 26, and the commissioners had a full meeting today. They've had 4 or 5 meetings where maybe only one thing was on the agenda, and so didn't really go, so we've had kind of a break. So today they had several people come in, and it's Dion and Bryn, I think, the director of nursing at the health department, came in. They got there before I did, and basically at the DAC meeting, the township trustees, the DAC approved a 5% increase for the health board. They were hoping for a 10%. So the DAC makes a recommendation to the budget commission, and the budget commission ironically can approve the 5%. They could lower it, they could raise it. So it's really just a recommendation, but the DAC or the budget commission can charge the townships and the municipalities kind of whatever they want. So Dion said they are grateful for the 5%, and they will adjust their budget to meet that and continue on kind of that health department revitalized plan. So they're slowly chipping away at their deficit and kind of their whole structure. All right, so next came in Cindy from the city of Kenton. They are starting the Perry Street trunk line. April 6th is when they're going to shut down Main Street. And so real quick on that is they are going to, there's a siphon, a line that runs from AP over to Village Pantry, under the river, and then over. So they're going to disconnect that line. They're putting a new one in, and then they'll reconnect those businesses and then run that new sewer line through underneath the roundabout and across. And so a lot of work. It's not going to be, the road's not going to be shut down for a long time, but I'm gonna grab the mayor, and we're gonna go on out to site there, and we're gonna actually look at it because it's kind of a complicated thing. That's a quick synopsis of it. The sidewalk project is going out to bid. That's going to start this summer. So that's the sidewalk that's going out to Walmart, which is going to be amazing. The roundabout legislation had the first read in council, and now it's got 2 more reads. So if you want to comment on that, make sure you get to city council. The street lights, they are waiting. It's the manufacturers waiting for the street lights in the downtown, and they need to get those sidewalks poured. So there's really a time crunch with this Main Street closure and getting the sidewalks poured and the street lights. They did put up wood poles for the traffic lights because it's going to be such a long time. The traffic light on Main Street is going to, we're still waiting on it. It's already been ordered. It's just a long lead time. Those are going to go in, but the ones over on Detroit won't go in until the roundabout project. So they're kind of separate there. And they are made in America. So that was a nice little tidbit. Yes. So Joe Sherman is concerned about the pothole out front of the courthouse. That whole thing needs to be repaired. They did not do it correctly. And so they're waiting for that repair to go in. It is a big pot, the manhole is down quite a bit, but you can't just put patch over it because it just slides off because it's on metal. So it's really a bad situation, and it's just something that they can't repair that until they close down the street, I believe. So anyways, that's a to be seen how that's going to get done project, but Joe would like it to be fixed as soon as possible. Well, yeah, we all do. So Keith Severance came in. He thanked him for coming to their safety meeting because attendance kind of makes a difference on their status. They do these tabletop drills, and so he had one of those. McGuffey needed help for something, but then they ended up not needing it, so I don't have to go back and ask McGuffey kind of what was going on there. They did disaster training. They had the EMA spring conference, which was really good. And he mentioned, which I'm gonna have to go talk to Keith again, but he mentioned the VOAG, which is a volunteer group that is like 20,000 people. They've grown to 20,000, and they kind of come in after these disasters, and they can set up food like a barbecue, and they can do chainsawing, and they have this whole kind of organization. And so I was like, that'd be kind of interesting if that's something that if people are interested in, that you could join and be a part of. But he thought it was pretty impressive. He talked about the security, cybersecurity plans, about some active shooter drill things. He helped Marion with one of their tabletop drills. And then here's this. So we all heard about the Trillium explosion out there, and I guess somebody dropped a lithium battery flashlight into a tub of hyperflex material, which is corrosive, and they didn't report it. They didn't do anything. So I don't know what their setup is. But then of course it eroded the lithium battery, and then it finally exploded. And so this 55-gallon drum exploded, and it did break a main water line, and so they were concerned about that. But it did relatively little damage. But the fallout of it is kind of a big deal. So they didn't have their emergency plans. So when they said, okay, this has gotten into this water line, and where does it go? Well, they didn't know where it went. And so, okay, now we figured out it goes to this retention pond. Well, where does the retention pond water go? Well, we don't really know. And so the EPA is going, what do you mean you don't know where all this stuff is, and who's in charge out here? And it's like, well, actually it's the Department of Ag. And so then they go over to the Department of Ag, and they're investigating, and it's like, well, who's doing oversight and all these sort of things. And so something that was, oops, I dropped the flashlight, and you had, kind of this incident is now growing into why are we doing things here, and why aren't the plans in place? And so they've kind of unfortunately caught the eye of these bigger organizations, and who knows where it's going to go. But on the bright side, Keith Severance said that they can use this as a full functioning drill, which they have to do like every 3 years, because it was something where, it really was an emergency. It wasn't, like just planning for an emergency. It really was, how did they handle it? What were the pieces in place, and what can you learn from it, type of thing. And so kind of interesting. Everything is cleaned up. They didn't have any harm to like the neighboring people, because if it did get into the water system and then it started spreading in the community and affecting other houses and stuff, that's a big deal. So thankfully it didn't get to that place. It sounds like Keith is continuing to adjust things with the LEPC being underneath the EMA, and so Abe unfortunately is moving on, and so he's going to have to post that position for that LEPC job, and they're going to kind of combine it. It's LEPC and EMA, because so it's going to be a little bit more of a robust job than it was before. Loss control, not very good. We've had, I think he said 67 claims in the county. We've had our historic buildings and the fairgrounds, and just with all this wind and all the things, it's gonna kind of hit us hard. We don't qualify for any like emergency type funding from the state. And he's also, and I'm always encouraged, Keith is always very good being organized and going after money and getting things in the places where they need to be. And so he was talking about when they actually go out to, like this Trillium event, that you can assess like $150 fee, and this goes to the insurance, that $150 fee for a small spill, and or 15% of like a larger bill. And so that comes from insurance, and that's going to help offset some costs, because they have to do all the paperwork and the reporting and the follow-up. And we, because we had that one diesel fuel leak that got into the ditch, and I mean, it was kind of a big deal, and it was something you had to really keep on. It wasn't just a paperwork deal, it was a active management type thing. And so being able to recover some of those costs, bring that money back into our our county offices. I mean, always. That is, awesome to see. So thank you to Keith for being on top of that and getting those policies in place. Okay, so last, Jamie Delafield came in from the OSU Extension. It was kind of weird because she went up and talked with Joe Sherman, like she whispered about a bunch of stuff. It kind of sounded like it was a safety concern. So I don't know what it was about, but I don't know that you're really allowed to whisper in a public meeting. So she probably should have had that conversation, well, maybe in public or outside of the public meeting. But either way, Joe said that they would take care of it, whatever it was. So basically, Jamie came in to talk about their commercial. Well, they were thinking about doing a commercial kitchen in that, the North Annex there, the Soil and Water building that they're fixing up. But because of the NSF code enforcement, it's just going to be way over their price point, and it's not really what they need to do. I mean, they could have their cooking classes and do their things with a regular kind of residential kitchen, and that's going to serve them the best. And so commercial is out. She still wants to do a lot of stainless steel just because it lasts longer and it's something that you can actually clean, and you don't have to worry about people kind of messing it up. And so she brought those in with like appliance recommendations and kind of things. It's kind of interesting. She brought in I don't have it, a layout. So it's a long skinny room, and you kind of walk in and they'll have, stuff that's all the way around the perimeter type things, a fridge and stove and a three container sink and an air fryer and just different stuff. She did say she wanted to do a pass-through window because the office or that room is kind of dark, which it sounds like it goes out into the hallway. So the space in the building is long and narrow, and you have a walkway down the middle, and then the rooms and stuff are on the sides. So the pass-through would go to the hallway, and so we're not sure. Like, she wondered about the ADA compliance and having stuff in the hallway and that kind of thing. So Richard, he was the head of maintenance, and Johnny Mans came up there, which, they're doing a lot of this work. And it's kind of funny to me because I know the building is not in great shape. It has what I believe to be structural issues. It's got, had all that water issues before. They have done the repairs, and it's all I think they have existing walls. But what it sounds like is that Richard and Johnny have been kind of the construction crew on this project. So it's like, are they building walls? Are they taking down walls? I mean, they're going to put a pass through this hallway wall, and they talked about electrical and those kind of things. And it's like, why didn't we bid this out? Why is our maintenance crew kind of doing all this construction work, which is not typically what I expect them to do? Maybe small things here and there, but not like redesigning this whole building. And why aren't we getting a design for this kitchen, which may be overkill, but at the same time, if you're using public money and investing it into a public building, maybe look at other people or other designs. And what about code enforcement? Do our maintenance guys have Are these things checked? And here's the other thing. If it's under $75,000, you don't have to bid it out. And so I think they've said they're going to spend $60,000 on it, which of course is under the threshold. So it just seems like a very backhanded way to go about remodeling a building for public use. So I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. It would be interesting to see some record requests on what work has been done. Are they getting inspections done? Is it all up to code? You know, that kind of thing. So I don't know. It just kind of struck me funny today when they were talking about it, that, you know, our guys aren't just construction guys. So kind of interesting. Other than that, it was kind of funny too that Jamie left and she has all these grand ideas, and then Richard is like, stainless steel's expensive, and it had a kitchen in it originally, and they had all the hoods and they had all the things, and they went in and took all that out. And it's like, we wouldn't have taken it out had we known that we were putting a kitchen back in there, which again says that they're not doing enough forward planning on how things are getting done to say, you know, the OSU Extension already had a kitchen at the other place, so why wouldn't you incorporate it? I don't know. That was it, guys. It was a long meeting. If you want to jump out on YouTube and look at the actual meeting, feel free to do that. You have questions, let me know, and we'll see if we can get them figured out.